on the GG Poker site. 54 bracelets awarded there. Let us zoom out to the online legends of all time, tournament and cash. 4 names that Maria planted on our Poker National Park monument, and here they are. The Swedish Nightmare on the left, Victor Blom, followed by Phil Galfond, who had a very notable comeback in his online challenge recently. The pioneer of the online challenge, Tom Dwan, better known as Dur, and Sauce123, Ben Sulsky rounding it out. Walk me through those 4. Why'd you pick them?
Yeah, I mean, Victor Blom, just for his fearlessness, he was one of those people that came out of nowhere, was willing to play anybody for any amount of money. He was always involved in the largest pots that you could find online. Phil Galfond, I think he really solidified his name with his 900K euro comeback against Benny Beatty in his own Phil Galfond challenge that just finished up.
Proved the naysayers wrong, didn't he?
Yeah, and Tom Dwan, I mean, he was someone who got people really hyped to watch and rail those nosebleed games back in the day, and he was always someone that people were really excited about. And for Ben Sulsky, I think he's had a lot of longevity in his cash game career. He is one of the players that I think a lot of his peers highly respect, so got to put him up there.
There were some other names, though, back in the day that really made their mark online. The Brian Townsends of the world. Ivy was certainly in those streets. Who else would you stick up there if we gave you a little bit more Rushmore to work with?
Yeah, I mean, Antonius as well. He brought a lot of hype with his name and with his play online. Dan Cates, there's a lot of people I think that are, you know, in that peripheral that I think everyone is always going to say, you know what, I've heard of him, and he's a player that I think people won't forget.
Those are the names that shepherd us into the online nosebleed arenas, and we have a shepherd of our own. Let's send it to Norman Chad with perhaps some people that we don't need to watch for.
Yes, there are 85 online bracelets available this summer. But let me tell you the top 5 players most likely not to win a bracelet. Number 1, Doyle Brunson. Hey, I love Texas Dolly. But I will say this, if you could win one on Twitter, he'd be a 10-time champion again. Number 2, Todd Brunson. He's a restaurant owner now. I mean, at these days, he's got the poker skills of a busboy. Number 3, Mike Postle. Now, I will say this. If levels 1 through 16 were live streamed, that's a whole nother story. Number 4, Doug Polk. Now, I know Doug is capable of multitasking, but it's really difficult to play well online when you're going door to door trying to recall your mayor. And number 5, speaks for itself, no? Ah, yes. Of course, to be fair, I really should throw my name into the mix as among the most unlikely to win a bracelet this summer. I'm still on AOL dial-up. Then again, if they ever return to live play, trust me, I will be a major factor.
I miss Norman. Have you ever played live with him?
I have.
At Hollywood Park?
Yeah.
The 2040 OE Streets. Does he have any Hobucks?
I'm not sure. I feel like I have one over on Norm.
Oh, so you have Norm bucks. I know you have some Nejad bucks, Norman. We miss you. We hope that you're happy and healthy wherever you are. Okay, let us shift gears from the American action, 31 bracelets out of the 85 issued there, to the international side. 54 bracelets will be given out on GG Poker. Obviously, some Americans will be in the fold, north or south of the border, wherever they may go in order to partake. But you're wondering why WSOP partnered up with GG? Well, just look at the success of their WSOP circuit action back in May.
Yeah, they held 595 events with $100 million in guaranteed prize money. And of course, one of the marquee events that everybody was talking about, the 25K High Roller, brought out the best and the biggest stars of the online poker scene with a $10 million guaranteed. So that was a really fun one to watch.
And who better to talk about GG Poker and their involvement in the World Series this year, among many things, than their brand ambassador, Daniel Negreanu. Kid Poker himself joins us now. How are you, Daniel?
I'm doing fantastic. Loving it. Can't wait. Get excited to start playing .com here in WSOP, and then, of course, you know, off to Mexico for GG Poker.
So let's talk about that quickly, because live, you'd have your RV, and the biggest thing you had to worry about if you didn't have an RV was where to go to the bathroom. What is grinding the World Series this summer going to be like? What are the biggest distinctions for you?
So the good news is, the cost of the RV, it's not free. It's quite expensive. It's roughly the same cost as a house I rented in Mexico. So I'm not spending any extra there. Plus, for the first month, I'll get to be at home. I love the schedule starting at 3 p.m. because it allows me to do my thing. I can go to the gym, have a little bit of life, maybe even golf beforehand. And then I'll be couch bound. I'll be couch bound with the puppies. Have some, I don't know what I'll be doing yet for distractions or anything like that. I will be focusing on every single hand because, with the hand history feature, I'll be looking back at each one and making notes throughout. So I'm ready to grind hard.
Yeah, well, speaking of being ready to grind hard, I know you have a lot of action riding on the WSOP. You have several bracelet bets out there. You have it at the max cap of 100K between you and Connor Drynan, you and Ali Mshurovich, and I believe Patrick Leonard is a part of that as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, another one came in on Joey Vieira. Joa, I don't know how's his first name. Joa, it's spelled weird. Anyways, I got 400 there. I got a whole bunch of smaller ones too. Got a few bets. Originally, I was offering the bet on winning a bracelet encompassing, any WSOP or GG, then realizing that most people are not going to be able to play both. So I've, made them specific. So the big bets I have, the 100K bets across a few players is mostly GG related, starting August 2nd, because that's when I'll be traveling on the 1st. And then I've got some as well on WSOP. I did offer 2.5 to 1 on winning a bracelet. Didn't get a lot of action on that. So I'm focusing mostly on the one-on-ones, and I think I'll get a lot more as GG approaches, schedules, and things are released.
Now, you're a Canadian. Why did you choose to go to Mexico over Canada? I would think you would have friends and family to hang out with up there. Why'd you head south?
Well, because I have a wife and she likes the beach. Period. She loves being on the beach. So she's, listen, hanging out with people, that's not a thing I do during the World Series of Poker. It's not like, and besides, it's COVID. What am I going to go to the club? Boom.
Well, during lockdown.
No, I'm going to stay home and I don't know.
Yeah, but during lockdown, you seem to have had a lot of time to lose a little weight, gain some muscle. Let's see those abs. You going to try to show them off in Mexico or what?
Don't do the abs.
Do it.
I'll post a picture on.
I don't need Daniel showing us up.
Good schedule. Yeah, I was on a good schedule anyway, and I continue to do that. We started with my trainer on we're doing a shred first, so I went from 176 all the way down to 139.4, which a lot of people said I started to look sick because my neck's skinny. It's just like if you see someone 35 pounds heavier and then light, they look sicker, but it's not sick. I'm in the best shape of my life, and now is bulk time. I've added Oreos to the meal plan, just freaking awesome. Vegan Oreos because they are vegan. That's in my meal plan every other day, where I eat freaking 400 calories worth of Oreos. So I love the meal plans. I love the workouts, and looking forward to gaining about 15, 20 pounds over the next year.
So Daniel, from vegan Oreos back to the poker, I'm curious, Maria offered up some predictions with respect to people that we should be looking out for. Do you have a sense of who the real threats to take down digital hardware are going to be throughout this online World Series?
Yeah, no question. There's two that come to mind specifically that are going to be playing both legs, WSOP and GG, and that's Ali Mshurovich and Connor Drynan, who Connor Drynan, of course, just came off of 5 scoop titles, I believe, something insane like that, breaking the record. And then, of course, Ali is, very prominent and, high stakes, no limit. So those two would be the guys at the top of the heap for me. A guy like Patrick Leonard, obviously, and Joe Riera both have bets against me, but they will only be playing the GG leg. Having said that, the GG leg is pretty extensive because it starts on July 19th. So any guys who have put their money where their mouth is and are willing to gamble on winning one, I put them at the forefront of people that I would expect to win a bracelet or two.
Well, we expect for you to have some results as well, and if history is going to repeat itself, I'm sure that we can count on that. Thanks so much for the time, Daniel. We appreciate it. All right, so the next 10 weeks,
cheers.
Obviously, we're going to find out if these predictions of yours and Daniel come true. I think Daniel's going to post some results. But furthermore, and more importantly for you and I, we're going to be bringing people not just preview shows, but recap shows. So if you don't have time to rail and follow along live, don't worry. Once a week, right here on PokerGO, we are going to bring you all of the action from the previous week and preview what's to come. Now, what would our World Series of Poker preview show be without some real World Series legends and I'm taking us all the way back to 2004 now as we welcome in our guest, the runner-up back in 04, David Williams, who's joining us via Skype from home. And look at all of that hair. David, you got the COVID coif going.
Yeah, man, you know, it wasn't easy to get haircuts throughout the quarantine, so you might as well embrace it, you know, and you can grow this hair out, grow it out.
Well, something that is going to be easy to do is rebuy and re-enter, and that's the first thing that I wanted to talk about. As I looked at the schedule of events, I noticed that there is quite a heavy proportion of the events that people are going to be able to rebuy and re-enter into. I have my own opinions on it, but I want to kick it to you as the longtime poker professional. Good for poker? Are you a fan, or are you kind of against it?
Well, I mean, I just roll with the punches, you know. I play what's offered. I think personally, I would prefer there not to be re-entries and for there to be more events per day, maybe like one at noon, one at 3, similar to what we see in the live World Series of Poker. But there's a lot of re-entries in some of those events anyways, so I guess it kind of mirrors that. Although, and I think without the ability to offer all the different games, it would be a little monotonous to have 3 tournaments in one day, and they're all just no limit hold'em, no limit hold'em, PLO every day. So I get why it is the way it is. I'm okay with it. You know, I wish there could be other games, but obviously this happened kind of quickly and the software wasn't ready at the time. So it is what it is. So having the re-entries makes it not as painful because it does seem a little easier to go broke in an online poker tournament than real life.
Well, you know, David, you're not unfamiliar with playing online and kind of the differences between online and live play, but do you have any suggestions and tips for players that are just used to playing only live and how that skill set can maybe translate and give them an edge online now?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say how. I mean, treat it like you would in real life. And what I mean by that is, you know, most people when they're at the table, granted people have their phones and such, they still pay attention. It's really easy when you're at home to have the TV on, to have friends in the room, to be just doing so many other things that distract you and to not take it seriously, even though you think you might be. And that's a huge leak. So I think what I would do is, what I'm going to do and what I recommend is to really buckle down, have a quiet environment, focus, and treat it like you would if you were sitting at the table at the World Series of Poker. You wouldn't have your buddies next to you chatting or watching TV. I mean, some might, but you'd be focusing. You'd be really paying attention. So I think you should do the same starting tomorrow at all these tournaments.
Does that mean that you're not going to reach for Lily, who I understand is in the room? I caught a glimpse of her earlier before we came on air. You're not going to be playing with her on your lap?
No, she's a little old for playing on the lap now. She's 9, you know, she's almost 5 feet tall, and I think she'd get pretty bored with it. But she will be next to me, and she will be, I'm sure, Daddy, asking questions, because that's just what kids do. But she has a desk in my office right next to mine, and she plays her computer games throughout the day this summer. I mean, obviously, she wishes we could go on play dates and hang out with friends, and things are a little different right now. So she's getting to play some screen time, and she'll be right next to me in the office. And then whenever I bust, it'll make it that much easier to know she's with me, and we can go ride bikes or go to the park or something. So it'll be pretty sweet.
There you go. Well, listen, we're hoping that you take one down, and then we can have a nice victory MasterChef meal that you'll prep for everybody. And here's a look at the recipe book for the first 5 days of this summer cookout. And Maria, you're going to grab your apron, right?
Yeah, and my fireworks will be in the form of re-entries. So check me out on there. Fenlon Felt. I expect a huge virtual rail, you guys.
I expect a lot of bullets coming out of that chamber.
Yeah.
Fire away. All right, let's not forget that for the international community and those that are going to hop on a plane or take a road trip, you can get involved in the online main on GG and look at that guarantee in a 5K.
Yeah, $25 million. Now, there are 22 starting flights. All of them are freeze-outs, and each player can only enter up to 3. But yes, there's going to be a lot of action for the main.
So head south of the border to get a piece of the enchilada, or north for a piece of the poutine, as it were. Do you have a specific place that you said you were going to Mexico, right?
This time I'm going to go to Mexico. Sometimes I go up to Vancouver, but, you know, I'm kind of feeling what Daniel was saying, the beach life.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, especially during quarantine,
Yeah.
sun and sand. Now, I personally haven't had a chance to play on the GG platform yet, but all of the pros, everybody that I've talked to says bar none, hands down, it's the best platform. We love playing there. What is it that makes it so popular?
Yeah, well, you could tell that they definitely put a lot of thought and money into their tech, and they actually try to make that experience maybe more like the live playing experience. For example, you can squeeze your cards pre-flop, but most importantly, you could squeeze them before the river card. So let's say you're all in, you're trying to fade a 3-outer. You can see the river before any of your opponents do.
Oh, look at that.
It's pretty fun.
Now, another aspect of the site that's really popular is staking being built in.
Yeah, so now, you can go to the lobby, choose a tournament, and then you can see who is selling their action for that specific tournament. And it's not just buying pieces of the biggest names. You can buy a piece and, as anybody, sell a piece.
So big blue chip stocks, those like, overweight ones like Helmuth and the Juggernauts are available. But also you could pick like some no-name that you've done a little homework on and you think might be a runner with no markup, penny stock kind of vibe. That's interesting. Who are your horses? You got any picks for me?
Yeah, well, I've got to go with the tried and true online grinders, the heroes that people know of. If you go onto, Pocket Fives leaderboard, so that would be Connor Beresford, who is leading the Pocket Fives leaderboard right now, C. Darwin, who's Simon Matson, and Nicholas Lena 900 Astet.
And where did you get those names? Are you doing homework? Are you like reading charts and graphs and things?
I might have a couple drafts going for the online series. So
you're dangerous. You're a heck of a trainer. You're trying to take down the poker Triple Crown. For me, I've done zero homework whatsoever. All I'm doing is thinking about the guys that impress me the most when I'm in the booth, and that would be Stephen Chidwick and Jason Kuhn. I feel like they show up, they come to play, they go hard. I don't know how many of these events they're gonna play, if they're in the country, out of the country, if they're moving around to make it happen, but I feel like you can never be on the losing side if you throw a little money at those two horses. All right, that brings the curtain down on our very first preview event. Certainly plenty will happen between now and the next time we join you guys. We've got 9 more of these things, so don't forget to join us each and every week here on PokerGo. Certainly hope you enjoyed this one as much as we did. On behalf of Maria, I'm Ali Nejad saying so long. We'll see you next week.